guys. So how are you doing out there? It's been a pretty intense few days planetary. There's been a lot going on in the ether, and trusting our intuition is probably the most important thing we can do right now. So we've got the new moon, the Taurus new moon, and that alongside a quite an important square of Uranus squaring Saturn in Aries, and this is creating quite a lot of high energy and high feelings, especially around frustration, restlessness and irritation. So people are definitely way more tetchy than they usually have been. Our patience is wearing thin, and because we are not able to disperse and spread amongst different people and around the same people all the time, then we often act differently when we're around the same kind of people. When we've got new energy and new vibrations, we're human beings, so we naturally connect to each other in a different way, and we resonate off each other and we connect energetically off each other. And so when you're just in a very small isolated group, it's very easy to feel much more irritated with people and have a shorter temper and not be able to express what you're really wanting to say, because you're not getting that relief from them. You're just constantly in that energy, in that same energy. And Uranus squared Saturn, it shows up at where our limitations are, our frustrations are. Taurus is also bringing up a lot of things maybe around finances and money, and starting to freak out a little bit about the financial situation, and also not feeling in control as well. We're still in this lockdown another 3 weeks, and not being able to really be in control of a lot of what's happening. But mostly it's the amount of information that we are being bombarded with that is just so, it's just so contradictory. And, even on the front page, so the Standard got delivered into our door today, the Evening Standard, weirdly enough. And basically the front page is, ministers say that PPE is here and nurses say it isn't. We just don't know what's going on, what's really going on out there. The conspiracy theorists are having a field day, from Bill Gates and Trump Trump destroying the deep state. There's going to be a blackout in 3 days. I mean, it's crazy out there. Bill Gates being the demon vaccinator. And actually, none of us know what's really going on. And this is because if you imagine a piece of a puzzle, we're only getting pieces. And when you get pieces, you can't see the whole picture. And it's absolutely a complete waste of time trying to work it out, because you can't work out a picture of a puzzle until you have all the pieces in place. Or another analogy is the veil is lifting or a door is opening. But when you just see a tiny little bit of that door, you just sneak in, you can only see a little bit of that preview. Or like I said in my lunoscope, it's like the four blind men touching the elephant. One touches one touches the ear, one touches the leg, one touches the tail, and they all think that they're touching the elephant, but actually they can't see the whole elephant. And that's really what's happening. So trusting our intuition really comes in useful now. And how do we trust our intuition? What is our intuition? How do we discern our intuition from our mental minds? So from my years of doing a lot of meditation and a lot of plant medicines and discerning that voice, I want to share with you some of my tips and tools of how I listen and discern my intuition. And the biggest one is where the energy is flowing. Without a doubt, if it's feeling uplifted and energized, then this is a sign that actually that's the right path, that's the right way to go. If it's making you feel uncomfortable or irritated or some negative energy, then it is really your gut feeling saying don't do it. And all animals have like a gut instinct. In fact, all animals live on their instincts, which is why when a tsunami is about to come, most animals are already feeling it energetically. And we have that same ability to feel what's happening in nature energetically. We just haven't learned how to strengthen that, what I call a muscle. So if you're lazy and sitting on the couch and eating a load of crisps, the idea of going to the gym, it just feels awful. But if you go to the gym on a regular basis, you motivate yourself enough to go to the gym. After a month of going to the gym, you can't stop going to the gym because you feel so good. And this is a bit like the intuition. You don't just suddenly get the intuition. You have to work on the intuition, and that means you have to follow it. And the more you follow the intuition, the more the intuition will get stronger and stronger. So the first thing to do is to check whether it feels good. If it's feeling good, if it feels right, if it aligns with what you're feeling, then I would definitely follow that. And that's with everything. That's with what you're reading, what you're seeing, and also where you're going and what feels right. Especially if like you're needing to get a job, or you're doing something, or someone's offered you an offer. Is feeling into that, does that make you feel good, expanded, light and airy, or is it making you feel a bit wonky and not quite right? If it's not feeling quite right, don't do it. It is your intuition telling you not to do it. And often, but then what happens, people say to me, what happens if it doesn't feel quite right and yet it's very strong? And this is when you have to discern what is the mental and what is the heart. So when we come from our intuition, our gut feeling, our instinct, what's happening is that we're connected from our gut, or from the heart, from the center, with the whole of humanity, with nature. This is what connects us with the whole of nature. So we have an expanded view. We're connected to the whole. We're all interconnected on this planet. We're all part of the same ecosystem. So we all have a connection with all living things on this planet, including humans. In fact, especially with humans. And when we can tune into this heart, then we can kind of feel what's going on in the collective. Our minds are only connected to our own individual experience. So what we are personally experience, what is our personal experience? And that's what we are going with. And let's call that the ego, or the mind. And so, for example, if you're going to work and you take a particular route every day, and then suddenly one day you get this feeling to take another route, even though it's longer, it's a little bit out of your way, but your intuition is really telling you to go that way. Your rational mind will fight it and say, why take that route when you always take this route? Why don't you always go on this route? Why are you not going to, why would you take a different route? Take that route. And what happens is that on some energetic level, it's almost like the heart knows. So it's like it's not telling you to take the usual route because maybe there's an accident on that route or something's happened on that route and it's going to delay you. But if you take the longer route, actually that will take you the shortest time to get to where you need to go. But we won't know that unless we override that normal ego and routine that we always follow to listen to the gut. So it is really about going deeper into the gut and listening to what the gut has to say, listen to what our instincts have to say, and then following it. And the stronger we follow it, the more we follow it, the stronger it gets. And the more we follow it, the stronger it gets, to a point where you're just following it and you don't even know that you're following it. You're just naturally following it. But this takes time. So I always suggest to people who are starting out on the path of trusting their intuition is to go slowly, is to just discern, like, where is the energy guiding you? Where is your energy guiding you? And following that and seeing how it resonates, how it relates, and starting to understand what is your intuition and what is your mind. And you're going to make mistakes because you're still trying to discern. But over time, just like any muscle that you're working out in the gym, you're not going to be a bodybuilder in 1 week. It's impossible. You need to work it out. Likewise with an intuition. It's going to take time. You're going to make mistakes. Some things you're going to do and it didn't feel, it wasn't quite right, didn't quite work out. But that's good as well. There's lessons that we can always learn. So it's always a positive experience to follow your intuition and trust that it is guiding you in the right way. And a key to understanding your intuition is the amount of self-love you have is directly connected to how strong your intuition is. So when we really love ourselves, when we really honor ourselves, then we listen more to our intuition because we know our intuition is serving us on the collective, not in the ego. And when it serves us on the collective, it's always beneficial and everyone wins. Just, we have to overcome that ego. So how do we overcome the ego? So we're always, in every moment, making a decision, making a choice. In every moment, there is a choice that needs to be made. whether we take left or right, whether we go to the park or we stay at home, whether we self-isolate or we decide to go and mix with other people, whether we have a cup of tea in the morning or we do cacao, whether we go and eat that bag of crisps or whether we go for the avocado, whatever is happening in our lives is always a choice. Some big, some very, very small, some minor, but it's always a choice. And at every moment we're making that choice, we are using either our egos or our hearts. And when we choose our egos, when we follow our egos, we always get the short-term pleasure of the ego, but often against the long-term pain of the heart. When we choose from the heart, we can sometimes get that short-term pain of the ego, but the long-term pleasure of the heart. You see, when we follow our hearts, it's not an immediate gratification. When we follow our egos, we get that immediate gratification, but if we are doing it against what our gut and our intuition and our hearts are telling us, then there is a long-term pain. For example, if you're staying in a relationship that is not really serving you, that you know isn't really giving you what you need, but you're holding on because it's easy, it's simple, you love them, but you're not in love with them, and so you're willing to go along with it, but you don't really love them. That's the short-term pleasure of the ego is getting the gratification, but your long-term pain of the heart is getting deeper and deeper. So it's about becoming more aware of every choice you're making. Is it coming from ego or is it coming from the heart? Is it coming from a place of need or is it a place of gratitude and support? And sometimes these decisions we make are difficult because it puts us in compromised situations, compromising the ego. And it's painful to compromise the ego, but it's more painful to compromise the ego than it is to compromise the heart. So, for an example, a bigger collective picture is climate change. We all know that flying, that using plastic is bad for the planet, but we want that ego desire of having what we want. So despite knowing the consequences of our actions, our ego actions, we still do it even though we're getting that long-term pain of the heart. And while we're in this lockdown and the world's in lockdown and we're seeing Mother Earth kind of recovering so quickly and seeing, the animals having their freedom and really seeing a big shift in the way the environment is responding to this lockdown, we are seeing that when we are held back, when we have having to not do what we want, when we don't have that opportunity, then actually the surrounding collective flourishes. But when we come out of this lockdown, are we going to go back to that ego need to serve ourselves, to get what we want, to have whatever we want? Because that's kind of what's been happening in humanity. We've been just taking what we want because we've been able to, without recognizing that we're connected to the whole, without recognizing that we're connected to the entire ecosystem. And when we become a virus on the ecosystem, which is what we've become, a virus, from the very bees that we're destroying and the insects all the way up to what we're doing to the atmosphere and the air, then we are really seeing that Mother Earth is retaliating because we are the virus. So we have to also accept that that virus has to also kind of come through humans as well. And, this is the way life balances out. So coming back to trusting the intuition, it's really recognizing that everything's coming back into balance and our intuitions are bringing us naturally back into balance. So for this week, here's the challenge, or for this next 3 weeks in lockdown, maybe better, is to really just trust your intuition, whatever that takes you. So it's being brave and it's taking a leap of courage and it's honoring your self-love for yourself and saying, okay, let's see where we go. Let's just follow it for a week. Let's just see where it takes us. Let's just see what happens next and trust that flow, trust where it takes you and see what happens next, and really following that energy of what feels right. What feels good. If it feels good to lay in bed all day tomorrow and not get out, do it. If it feels good that you need to get up and go running and get motivated, do it. If it means just not doing any work at all and enjoying the sun, do it. Whatever you're feeling, and this is where the power lies, because when we really honor ourselves and trust our energy flows and trust what's happening, then we start becoming much more peaceful, calm and happier, because we're following what we are feeling deep inside, what our intuition is telling us. And you get to a point when you're following your intuition, when you don't know you're following, where life starts taking on an absolute magical flow, like synchronicities, completely in tune with everything. You turn up in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. There is an amazing magical flow to the universe. And when you can tune into that magical flow, and I live in London, I live in the centre of the chaos. So you don't have to be in nature to feel that magical flow. You don't have to be in the centre of the countryside to feel that magical flow. That magical flow is happening all over wherever you are. That magical flow is inside of you. It's not external to you. So even if you're isolated in the centre of London, then, or in the centre of your city, or even in lockdown, you can still follow that flow of what's happening. And that's where the expansion comes, when we follow that flow, when we follow that intuition, and we strengthen it like a muscle every day by following it. So tomorrow, it takes a lot of courage. It really does, to let go of the ego mind, to let go of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You know, many years ago, my stepson said to me, oh, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, last words of the Buddhas. And I had to laugh, because probably was. But yeah, we do so many. Check out how many shoulda, coulda, wouldas you do. We are constantly in the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but they don't serve us. And when we come out of that and come into the heart, those shoulda, coulda, wouldas disappear, because we don't have them anymore, because we're just following our internal guidance system. So if any of you are having problems or difficulties and want to connect, I am doing a shamanic journey on Friday on connecting with our wise teacher, because I over many years, I've done this journey quite a few times. We have our wise inner teacher inside of us. It's not external. It's not a guru or in fact, I think the age of the guru is over. You know, we're always looking for someone that knows more, but the reality of it is we're all our own guru. We are all our own teacher. We all have the energy and the power inside of us. Looking externally, we're all in a level playing field right now. Lots of people have beautiful wisdom to share, but so do you. You have your life experience, and that in itself is where your wisdom lies. So this is about stop listening to out there and tune into your own inner wisdom, your own inner wise teacher, your own inner experience, because then you'll be able to discern what is happening, the noise from the reality. And as the veil lifts, it's going to get a little bit scarier, because we're going to see things that we thought were real, not real. We're going to have to go beyond the illusion. And as we do that, what we need to trust is what feels right inside of ourselves. What are we feeling is connecting with our truth. And our truth comes from our intuition. So this is a really powerful time, and the more finely tuned the intuition is at this moment, the easier it will be to walk this path in the darkness. And in 2018, I did a dark retreat. I did 14 nights and 13 days in pitch black darkness. And I will be sharing a video on that, on how this is helping me. Because when you're in pitch black darkness, the only thing you have is your intuition. The only thing you have is your gut instinct, because you have to trust. And it really hones that. Once we get rid of all the sensory perceptions and we go into the deep darkness within, the only thing that we hear is our own clear voice. So I've really trained myself to listen to that inner voice, because in the end, that's my inner guidance system. So do come on Friday evening to listen to your wise teacher, hear what your wise teacher has to say, discern, so you can start discerning what your voice is, what your inner voice is, what your inner truth is, what your inner connection is with yourself, and really enabling that, strengthening that, so that as you walk forward, you can start letting go of some of that noise, and also rise above some of the fear and anxiety that a lot of people are putting out there, so that you can kind of hear your own inner wisdom and allow your own inner wisdom to guide you. So if anyone has a question, just type it down in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have regarding your intuition. But in the end, really, as we head deeper into this darkness, and it is going to get dark, because even when this lifts, the quarantine lifts, the financial system, the way we've done things is going to be very different. And so trusting our intuition is going to be the clearest inner guidance that we're going to have. So it is about really, while we're in this isolation, while we're in this bubble of isolation, really utilizing this time to hone that intuition, to really strengthen your intuition, and to really listen to your intuition. A really good exercise of learning to love yourself, or a loving exercise towards yourself, which again really strengthens the intuition, is loving yourself. What I've worked out is the more you love yourself, the more you listen to your intuition. That's because you trust your inner guidance, your wise teacher inside. So you don't doubt it anymore. Is to look in the mirror every day for 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening, and just send yourself loads of love. Especially if you're self-isolating. Now, this isn't as easy as it sounds, and it can often lead to feeling quite tearful. That's okay too, because we're really facing ourselves. So you stare into your reflection, you stare into your eyes, and you just send loads of love to yourself, and feel that love flowing between you and your reflection. And in that flow, as you get into that, you hit a zone, a bit like when you run and you hit a zone. You can hit that zone as you're staring into your reflection, sending that love. And in that zone, that's when you can hear some of the messages that are come bubbling up. That's when you can ask yourself some questions. It's when you get into that zone of staring into your reflection and allowing that love to start generating in your body, then you're really able to access that inner silence. Because when there's too much going on in here, you can't hear in here. So that is why a lot of people are saying this is a good time for meditation, for mindfulness. But it's not always easy to meditate when the mind is so frantic, and sitting morning and evening isn't what meditation is. Meditation is being in the present. Meditation is being conscious in the present. Meditation is a moment by moment, every moment practice of being aware. Sitting morning and evening is great if you're in awareness, but actually real meditation is how you live your life. There is no separation between sitting for an hour morning and evening and living and being, because every moment of that awareness of consciousness, you're taking that decision to make that choice from your heart, to make that choice from your gut, from making that choice from your wise teacher, from your intuition. That's connected to the global whole. So every decision you make is really, really connected to the higher, to the collective of all living things on this planet and Mother Earth. And when you start tuning in, again, like I said, the magic starts flowing. The magic really starts flowing through our lives, and things will become much easier and much simpler. But every journey starts with the first step. So really just allowing that training and seeing it as a training. And the first thing is making a commitment that this week you're going to just listen to your intuition, and you're not going to care about the consequences. And that, I have to say, takes a lot of courage to do that. But once you start doing it and you start seeing the magic that gets created when you let go and really go into the flow of Mother Earth, it's a very, very super powerful process. It's life-changing. It's one that I started in 2003, so I was doing it unconsciously up until 2003. In 2003, I started doing it consciously, living consciously, making conscious decisions, trusting that intuition. And it wasn't easy. It was quite scary at the beginning. And I had to break through a lot of barriers, because obviously the ego is very stuck in its ways and likes the way it's doing things, and doesn't want to be controlled by the heart, because it's had domination in our lives. And so suddenly you're having to rein it in like a mad monkey. That monkey doesn't want to be reined in. So there is going to be resistance, like with everything. But so is, losing weight. So is getting fit. It's the same thing. There's resistance. But once we overcome the resistance and we start doing it, that's when the pleasure starts rolling, because you start seeing how amazing life is, how beautiful flowing it is. And there's a lot of magic happening beyond the pollution of the mind, beyond the madness of what's going on, of the misinformation, the conspiracies, the contradictory information. that is very much three-dimensional. If we raise our vibration and we raise beyond that, and we start coming from our truth and from our wise teacher, and we let go of that very, very low vibrational dimensional noise and rise above it, there is a beautiful clear air up here, and it really helps to guide. And that's not to say you're not going to have wobbles. I mean, everyone has wobbles. You can't help. We're human and we're feeling the energetics. Like I said, lots of energy happening on the planet right now. So when you go down into that inner peace and harmony of the heart, you can kind of rise beyond that that noise and pollution, to really enable you to start enjoying and seeing the blessings and the gratitude and all the magic that is happening beyond that really messy and polluting three-dimensional noise and also negativity. This is something that I feel very important to do right now, is to raise our vibrations, listen to our intuitions, strengthen our intuitions, so that we can navigate these next few weeks more calmly, peacefully, and way more happily. So thank you so much for watching. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of the evening, and hopefully see you online soon. Take care. Lots of love.